our morning meeting today. Hi everyone, my name is Kristen. I'm the executive director here, and I am I'm here with Maeve, the Merlin, and this is a pretty special species. And she'll probably be doing this throughout the throughout our broadcast. So, actually from working at the Center for Wildlife, I have learned so many calls of wild animals, and then hi. Yes. We had a peregrine falcon who was with us for a long time. Our dear Freya. Yes. And I heard her call over and over again working with her, and then I was hiking in Camden, Maine, and I actually heard that call and knew that it was a peregrine falcon, and we spotted it because of our ambassador friends. So so we'll get right into it. Please say hello.
Hi,
where
everybody.
You're from, where you're tuning in from. We love lots of questions. We love for this to be interactive. And I'll just keep talking over my screaming friend here. So just very quickly, for those who maybe aren't familiar with us, we are a wildlife medical clinic, an environmental education center. We treat up to 2,500 injured and orphaned wild animals every year. And we also do about 375 environmental education programs on site and in the community. And as part of our environmental education programming, our goal is always to get animals back out into the wild. But sometimes we have animals who are permanently injured, or maybe they've been made tame by a member of the public, so they can't be released back into the wild. So Maeve is one of those ambassadors, and those are the ones with us on morning meetings, and usually with us out in the community, but obviously we are not able to do that right now. So Maeve came to us in 2017. She was hit by a car and sustained a permanent wrist injury. So you might see as she spreads her wings out that her right wing droops more than her left does. And thank you, Maeve.
You're so helpful. Yeah, she has a little feather sticking out.
Yeah.
I know. That's the sight of her.
Here we go. Okay, so if you guys do this at home with your arm, birds have the same structures as we do underneath. They just look very different. So they've got a wrist, they have an elbow, they have a shoulder, they've got shoulder blades. And so when Maeve was hit by the car, it was on her wrist. And for wild animals, everything really does have to be working in perfect order in order to be able to survive and hunt and find food. And this is a species that definitely migrates. So she was actually brought to us from Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. One of the wardens brought her to us, and she had been hit by a car. Birds have hollow bones. So although she is a formidable predator, she is very light because of those hollow bones. And oh, that's cool too. You can see. Well, I'll talk about that in a second. She is calling. Take a close look at her beak and the shape of her beak there. You'll see like a notch in that. So anyway, her injury unfortunately is permanent. So to get to her beak, so these birds, all of our birds of prey are raptors, which are hawks, owls, falcons, turkey vulture, osprey, and eagle. Did I miss anybody? No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
All of those guys have these sharp claws or talons, and they also have that sharp hooked beak for tearing. And they are also all adapted to be for their habitat, what they're eating. So these guys have really pointy wings Maeve's wings are very, very different from an owl's wings, which are soft and rounded. Even our hawk's wings are a lot wider and broader. Our falcons dive really fast through the air for their prey. Peregrine falcons can dive at about over 200 miles per hour in their stoops. These guys, when they're hunting, can be going about 60 miles per hour. So they tuck those really streamlined wings in there. It's like watching swallows too, go so fast through the air like little jet planes. And so the way that these guys hunt is they're catching other birds and also maybe some larger insects like dragonflies on the wing. And they've got that structure in her beak is called a notch tooth. And she actually uses that if they're catching songbirds. That helps her actually break parts of their prey's body so that it's a very quick demise for the prey that they're taking. And they have a fascinating hunting style too. Most of our raptors hunt pretty much on their own, like during nesting season. Mom is usually on the nest with the eggs, and dad is hunting for the entire family and bringing food back. During the fall and winter, they're kind of on their own, so they're just together during nesting season. But these guys actually have been seen hunting in pairs pretty often. So one Merlin will swoop in to a flock of, mourning dove would be pretty big, but say like our cedar waxwings or sparrows, and so flush out the flock. And these guys actually come where a lot of our predators that are raptors are diving down and catching their prey down. These guys actually can come from underneath and catch their prey. They scoop them out with those long toes. Thank you. Perfect, Maeve. And catch their prey. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah. We have a lot of people coming in. Good morning, everybody. Hi, Becca and Xander. Hello, Kim. Good morning, Caitlin. Good morning, Sarah. My sister is watching. Good morning. Good morning, Denise. She says her grandchildren and her have enjoyed the program so much.
Thank you.
Virtual programs. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Elena. Elena has a quick question, but right after her question, we have a comments from Kesh saying that her call just cleared her bird feeder.
I love it.
I thought that was funny. But Brendan,
that's her battle cry.
I know. Brendan, age 10, would like to know, what does her nest look like?
Cool. Yeah. So these guys actually, we don't see them very often. They're kind of secretive. Obviously, she's got great camouflage for the forest, those brown and tawny tones. But they do nest around here infrequently, and mostly farther north in Canada. But their nest looks like it's actually, they don't make their own nests, so they'll nest up in softwood trees, so pine or hemlock, pretty far up, and they will use older crow's nests or Cooper's hawk or sharp-shinned stick nests. So if you're looking in your neighborhood, as we're all spending more time in our neighborhood and our backyards, really look up at those trees, especially now before all the leaves come out. This is such a great time to find where the nests are in your neighborhood. And our raptors will reuse other species' nests. So, if you see a nest now far up in the pine and you see sticks and you maybe don't see any activity there, keep an eye on it as we move through May, June, July, because these species will reuse older nests. So it seems like our predators are like, yeah, I put all my energy into being an amazing predator.
I don't have time for this housekeeping stuff.
Let's reuse this nest. This one looks good.
It's
so
okay.
Great question, Brendan.
Good morning. Nicole is watching. Cheryl would like to know why she is calling so much.
Yeah, so Maeve has been with us since she was younger, but they use vocalizations to talk to their family members. They also do it if they're excited. They do it to confuse prey if they're going into a hunt, which is interesting. You said the bird feeder was cleared. So to flush guys out, they will use it for that as well. So the reason why Maeve is talking with us right now is just because she's excited. She's excited to be out of her enclosure, checking out some different scenery, and she does like interacting with us, as far as I can tell.
She also talks a lot when she's being handled. I think she vocalizes a lot to her handlers.
Nice. So she just did a rouse. Have you guys noticed her flip up her feathers and shake everything out? That's called a rouse, and she that means the birds are comfortable, which is cool. She's also starting to preen, which is really, really cool. So if a bird were stressed, because it is good to look and be able to recognize stress behaviors. And they're such pickers, these Falcons.
Yeah. She's like, I know exactly what's attaching me to this person.
People actually ask about that a lot. Like, what are those, the hardware around her? So she has, these are called anklets. These are jesses, and they get clipped to a leash. Obviously, if she can't be released to the wild because she would be attacked and killed very quickly with her permanent injury. She also would starve to death because she can't hunt on her own. So she wears these as we walk around outside so that she doesn't get away and have an untimely passing. Also, when we are presenting in classrooms or even in an office, we don't want her to get loose and fly into the window or step on top of the pens or anything like that. So that equipment is to help keep her safe while she's being handled.
She's a good girl.
She is such a good girl.
We just had a comment about a hawk hunting on someone's roof to catch a snake. That's so cool.
Wow.
That's awesome. So she's definitely chatty. She's been with us since she was about 3 months old, and has taken to people quite well.
So I'll kind of list off some fast facts. So identification, now is the time to look for Merlins because they're usually in our area during spring migration and fall migration. So they nest farther north, and they usually overwinter a little bit farther south. Little good luck present. So how would you know if you're spotting a Merlin? Around open areas with a forest edge, so fields, meadows. That pointed wing silhouette is really going to give her away from other hawks or osprey or anyone like that. Her size, so she is really about the size, she's smaller than a crow. She's really kind of the size of like a mourning dove with a little bit longer of a wingspan. And also, you see she has so much streaking on her chest. This is a species where the males and the females do look different. So she's got that nice brown and tawny color. The males will have more of a gray back. They also will change as they get older. The males especially will get that really, really slate gray back. Merlins have subspecies. So around here we have the taiga subspecies. More in the Midwest, Michigan area, they have the prairie subspecies. They will be on the move right now. They also, Falcons have, she has the hint of it, the streaking down their cheeks. So they've got like one thick one kind of near the ear. Yeah, Falcons do not. And then another one coming from under their eye. So those are called streaking. for our falcons, and none of our hawk species have them. They do sometimes get confused with like Cooper's hawks or sharp-shinned hawks. Also on her nares, which is the equivalent of our nostrils, you guys see she has kind of a plug in there. Those are called baffles. And again, really our falcons are the ones that have those prominent structures, and it's because they're flying and diving so fast through the air. Those baffles help to deflect air from going straight up into their brain as they're flying and diving. And actually our airplanes have baffles now that are modeled after that.
They're so pretty.
So they start migrating now, really through April. They'll start courtship behaviors in April too as they return. The males do figure eights and aerial courtship displays. They'll zoom really fast by the female, or they'll flutter like I said.
Look at me go!
Yeah, look how fast I am. What else I can do this dance too? So they do lots of things to try to impress their female. A lot of our raptor species are monogamous, but these guys actually do. There's that Rose
girl.
again. These guys actually do choose a new mate every year. They'll have 4 to 5 eggs, and usually, oh, that means she's comfortable too. You guys see those?
Stop talking.
Chin feathers fluffing out underneath. That means she is comfortable and cozy. She's also, this is cool because people sometimes will call us and be like, I saw a raptor and it only has 1 leg. Particularly our guys that migrate seem to tend to do this even more, although we've seen it, and even our gulls and other species do that, but she's resting on 1 foot and she's got the other one tucked up underneath her. They can do that to keep their feet warm or just alternate so they don't put pressure on their feet, just to put their feet up for a rest, which is cool.
One of my favorite things about Merlins is the name.
Yeah.
And how people think that they were named after the wizard, but it's actually the other way around. Mm-hmm. He was named after the bird. And Merle in French is like somewhere close to the word for, I guess, like it has the same root as the word for pigeon.
Oh, cool.
And in Europe, these guys are about twice their size as they are in America. So they're much larger in Europe. European kestrels and Eurasian kestrels and Merlins are much bigger, so they could definitely eat a pigeon or a mourning dove. So they are very, very different looking over there. We have a couple of questions. Good morning to Ryan. Good morning, Deacon and Molly. Hello. Donna would like to know, where do they winter in the wild?
Mm-hmm. So they'll winter really just starting from like Massachusetts south. So we just kind of are a pass through, although things are changing very rapidly with our changing climate. So yeah, they head from Canada, which is typically their breeding ground, although there are some documented nesting pairs in Maine, very rare in New Hampshire. But they'll head from our area, from Massachusetts, and then farther south and beyond. So they don't have quite as an extensive migration as like our peregrine falcons or even broad-winged hawks do, but starting farther south in Massachusetts. Great question.
And they definitely love this area as a landmark. Gracie has been calling like crazy lately to the migrating hawks and falcons all up there. So we get to see these guys passing through.
And their habitat, they do, it's like naturally, if we didn't create openings, it would be like where there's like a blowdown or a lightning strike in the forest. So an opening within a forest, or even a meadow with a forest. They do like the interior forests and those older softwoods, but they need the opening, which makes a lot of sense because that's where there's going to be more diversity of songbirds as with um, younger trees and shrubs that throw a lot of seed and insects and berries. Great
so
question.
Sweet.
Yeah.
What a good girl. Hi, Anna. Hello.
Such cool markings underneath, too. They're so striking. And that really, that modeling is also unique to these guys and the American kestrels. And so these guys are on the decline, unfortunately. So they had been critical, almost threatened. I'm not sure if they were listed, but just like our peregrine falcons with DDT, unfortunately. And so, knowing how your food is grown, it's not just for us because we will ingest that or even drink the water that the chemicals end up going into, but our migrating species, the ones that we come to love and that are so special, even if we're not using DDT or pesticides in our region explicitly, if the places that they go to migrate to and that grow our food are still using them, then that can cause a lot of problem for our migrators. And they already have so many challenges. It's like, some migrate by night, and we've got, skyscrapers and lights and entire cities that are just lit up 24/7, cars, they might return to their habitat and then all of a sudden there's a 200 house development there that wasn't there before. So there's small choices that we can make. Any other questions?
We did have a question from Liza, who was wondering how many of those eggs that you were mentioning make it every year. So they have 4 to 5 eggs, and then how many usually make it?
So it's pretty sad, but raptors across the board have about an 80% mortality rate their first year. So 15% of the eggs that are laid across all species will make it through their first year of hunting in the winter or migrating, making that journey. So, when we've admitted, baby kestrels or even Merlins at the center, they're usually about 3 or 4 in a group. So of those 4 or 5 eggs laid, maybe 3 or 4 of them make it to nestling stage, and then from fledging from the nest, usually probably about 2 or 3, and then you go through the entire winter, and that keeps getting whittled down. So it is very challenging to be a predator, and but that also means that the most robust hunters, the best migrators, the best genes get passed on throughout that next year, which helps their population and the species as a whole. So it's all a balance in nature.
Well, it's interesting. We talk about evolution as happening over millions and millions of years, but often it is just as quick as one generation is evolution in action. So,
right. Yeah.
Good morning, Tammy from Pennsylvania. Hello. Good morning. I know. No problem, Liza. We're happy to answer all of your questions.
Yes.
As always, there is a donate button on this video. Thank you guys so much for your support over the last month. We really appreciate all of the support that we've been getting from these videos as well as online.
To make a note on that, because I'm the director and I always have to look at that, but we're not able to have tours or host events or have on-site programs, which a lot of that funding that comes in is what subsidizes our work. And then, unfortunately, in addition to the work that we are taking on, we don't have any volunteers or interns, so we usually, during our peak busy season, we have already onboarded and trained 10 to 15 volunteers and interns in a day to deal with a caseload that can be between 200 and 250 injured and orphan wild animals in care, plus then admitting so many new ones every day. So I really wanted to thank everybody for making donations on these Facebook Lives and also through our emergency appeal. we also, we have our capital campaign and we have to maintain 35 enclosures. But I was thinking today, now we have this whole new job of watching legislation, making sure all of our staff is protected, making sure the public is protected as they drop off animals, and a shifting crisis, which I know everyone is dealing with in their own ways. So I just can't express how grateful we are when people choose to value our work and give whatever they can. So thank you.
Yay! Good morning. Good morning, Janet. Hi, Maeve and Kristen. She says, thank you so much, Liza. That's so sweet for donating. We really do appreciate it. It goes right to help feeding Miss Maeve her quail.
Yeah. So we'll sign off with just a couple more. Let's just zoom in here. These kind of diamond-shaped patterns. We call them their pantalones. Our falcons just have such cool feathers around, and just their coloring is so beautiful. Their eyesight is incredible. She's getting ready to spread her wings again. Yeah. So I think, as you guys are out, out in your neighborhoods, near your farms or fields, or even a new wet meadow that's been created by a beaver dam in your area, definitely listen for that call. That's a gift that Maeve can give us. Definitely listen for that call, because they are moving through right now. We actually, when Shelly and I were scouting the great horned owl nests, we were at a field and we saw 2 Merlins go by. Another thing, they can be confused with American kestrels, which is a species of falcon that's a little bit smaller in our region. They've got more blue and even red on them. Their cheeks are a lot more prominent as well, and they're smaller. Our peregrine falcons the young ones especially look a lot like Maeve, except they are a lot bigger. So I think 1.5 the times the size, if not 2, if it's a big female. But these guys actually flap a lot more than our peregrine falcons, who have robust wings, and they're pointy, but they don't flap as much as these guys. So you're looking for a boomerang shape that's kind of flapping a lot and has all of this modeling underneath them. And listen for that call.
You're so pretty. Nice job, Maeve. I'm gonna go give her breakfast.
Yeah.
Yay.
So thank you all for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.